In recent discussions online, there has been confusion surrounding claims of a major drug trafficking case involving Kodak Black and alleged MDMA charges in Florida. However, when we separate verified legal records from speculation, the situation becomes more about how Florida's strict drug trafficking laws work rather than a confirmed new landmark case. This video will break down the legal reality behind drug trafficking laws in Florida, how such cases are built, and why celebrities often become central in public narratives around these charges. Is there a confirmed 2024 or 2025 MDMA trafficking case involving Kodak Black in Florida? There is no verified public court record or official law enforcement filing confirming a new MDMA trafficking case against Kodak Black in 2024 or 2025. Much of the discussion circulating online appears to be speculative or misinterpreted content. His real legal history comes from earlier unrelated drug and firearm cases, not a confirmed recent MDMA trafficking escalation. How do drug trafficking charges typically begin in Florida? Drug trafficking cases in Florida usually start with a traffic stop, arrest warrant, or targeted investigation. Officers may discover suspected substances during a search, which are then sent for laboratory confirmation. Once the substance and weight are verified, prosecutors decide whether to elevate the case to trafficking based on statutory thresholds. Why is weight so important in Florida drug trafficking laws? Florida uses a weight-based system where the total weight of a substance mixture determines the severity of the charge. This means that the entire mixture, including fillers or non-active ingredients, is counted. Once certain weight thresholds are crossed, the charge automatically escalates, regardless of purity or intent. What is meant by the phrase "weight is king" in these cases? The phrase refers to Florida's legal structure where sentencing depends primarily on the total measured weight of the drug mixture. Courts often have limited flexibility once the weight places the case into a trafficking category, which triggers mandatory minimum sentences. Can a valid prescription prevent trafficking charges? A valid prescription can be a strong defense in possession cases, but it becomes more complicated in trafficking cases. If the quantity exceeds legal thresholds or if evidence suggests distribution, prosecutors may still pursue trafficking charges. Courts then evaluate whether the substance was truly for personal medical use or intended for distribution. What kind of evidence supports intent to distribute? Prosecutors often rely on several indicators beyond the substance itself. These may include packaging materials, multiple baggies or containers, large amounts of cash, communication records, or the presence of scales. None of these alone prove guilt, but together they can support intent arguments. Why does Florida impose mandatory minimum sentences for trafficking? Florida maintains strict mandatory minimum sentencing laws to deter large-scale drug distribution, especially involving opioids and synthetic drugs. Once a trafficking threshold is met, judges often must impose a minimum sentence set by statute, limiting discretion even in unusual circumstances. How do mandatory minimums affect defendants? Mandatory minimums remove flexibility from judges. This means that even if a judge believes a sentence is excessive, they may still be required to impose a legally defined punishment based on the weight and classification of the drug. How do celebrity defendants differ from average defendants? High-profile individuals often have access to stronger legal teams and public attention, which can influence negotiations and defense strategies. However, they may also face increased scrutiny from prosecutors who want to demonstrate strict enforcement of drug laws. What is the reality of roadside drug arrests in Florida? Most drug arrests begin with routine stops or warrant checks. If suspected substances are found, they are initially tested in the field, but final confirmation comes from forensic laboratories. Field tests are not always accurate, which is why lab reports are critical in court proceedings. How has Florida changed its approach to opioid and synthetic drug cases? In recent years, Florida has intensified enforcement against fentanyl and synthetic opioids due to overdose concerns. Some cases are treated with enhanced seriousness, especially when large quantities or counterfeit pills are involved, reflecting the state's aggressive drug policy environment. What are the broader consequences of Florida's drug laws? Critics argue that strict weight-based sentencing can lead to harsh outcomes that do not always reflect individual intent or circumstances. Supporters believe it is necessary for deterrence and public safety. This ongoing debate continues to shape legal reform discussions. Finally, drug trafficking laws in Florida are built on strict thresholds, mandatory sentencing rules, and a strong emphasis on substance weight rather than intent alone. While public narratives often focus on celebrity names, the real legal system operates on structured formulas that apply equally across all defendants. Understanding these mechanisms is essential to separating fact from speculation and recognizing how drug enforcement actually functions in practice. If you found this video informative, share it, like it, and subscribe for more clear and educational breakdowns of legal and social issues.